My name is Bond.
James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin.
That's not funny, 007.
For England, James? No.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the BondVerse, where we're going through every single James Bond movie. I am one of your hosts, Kyle. I am joined as always by my wonderful co-host Nathan. Say hello.
Hello everyone.
And this week, Nathan, it's the end of an era. We're doing the very last Rodger Moore James Bond movie.
It's actually quite like a build-up for me. This really was an era. He was the Bond of the 70s and most of the 80s.
I mean, half of the 80s, I guess.
What if, in terms of Bond movies coming out in certain years, you know? Like, there was
I
more
suppose
Moore
so,
movies
yes.
than there were Dalton movies of this era.
There were 3 different James Bonds in the 80s, Nathan.
There were 3 different Bonds of the 80s. This was like the Tom Baker era of Doctor Who winding down. Not the first, but definitely carved out a massive period of time where he was the guy, you know?
Yes. Anyway, this movie is A View to a Kill, which, by the way, I hate that title. I think it should just be called View to a Kill, because A View to a Kill just sounds clunky.
Well,
I guess it's better than From a View to a Kill.
Yeah, it's much better. It's much better than From a View to a Kill, you're right. I do have that in my notes there, that this isn't the From a View to a Kill I was promised at the end of Octopussy. I think it just means like it's a perspective to death.
I suppose. It doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, other than I think the villain says it at one point.
Yeah, Christopher Walken says it one time in The Blimp, and I went, why are you saying that? It's when they look over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Based on my brief reading online, this movie has a reputation as being the worst Rodger Moore movie, and I don't think that's true at all.
So I also disagree. Now, I've spoken to people who've seen this before, including our friend Stuart, and he quite likes this movie. He thinks the only issue with it is that Rodger Moore just looks very old in it. I actually think he looks younger in this than he does in some of his earlier films.
I wouldn't say he looks younger per se, but I think he dresses much better than he did in Octopussy.
That's kind of what I mean. Like, I think it all comes together. He looks more like he's made for the role in this film. I like this film. I'll say that.
Yeah,
right
I liked it too. I think this movie is one of the stronger Moore entries. Actually, I think it's better than Octopussy. I think it's better than For Your Eyes Only as well.
I completely agree. I don't like. We could say that Moonraker, because it's just a remake of The Spy Who Loved Me. They two kind of just count as variations of the same thing. So it's been a while since we actually got those films now. Never Say Never Again is a different thing, obviously. This might be my favourite Bond movie I've watched in quite a while, actually.
No, it's good. I mean, there's some issues with it, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I think this movie's quite fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's really fun. I think it's not too camp, but it's campy, but it's not like, you know...
There's one moment right at the beginning, which is ridiculous.
We're not dressing up as clowns, Kyle, okay?
We're not dressing up as clowns. Nathan, what we are doing, though, is skiing.
Yes, we are skiing, and at any time, I can't believe the legacy of On Her Majesty's Secret Service has been to make me scared of skiing scenes.
Well, I mean, this movie really mixes up, though, because first he's skiing, and then his skis get destroyed, so he hijacks a snowmobile.
He's running around on one ski.
He's there, he's dressed in white, he's, like, looking for a dead agent. Or we recently found out that it's yet another dead 00 agent. It's 003, rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. 003. Yep, never knew your name. You're no Bill Fairbanks.
No Bill Fairbanks, who was 006?
Yeah,
005?
008, I think.
008, right.
Yeah. I was going to say, was she 007?
No, yeah. Again, these 00s are dropping like flies.
Always.
Actually, I'm going to check right now, because I'm sure I've taken all of this, and all of our recordings of my notes of 00s that have died. Hang on. Yeah, okay, so Bill Fairbanks was 002.
Oh, was he? Right, okay.
Yes. So 002 died in... it was Man with the Golden Gun. He was a victim of the Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes, he was.
So 002 dead. We don't know if they replaced these, by the way. I don't know if they... Would it make more sense if they get a new 002, or if they just, like... Oh no, in the most recent movie there's a new 007, right? So they do just get replaced.
Yeah, you just hire new ones, yeah.
Yeah. And then 009 was the clown that died at the start of Octopussy.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah. We're down at least 3 00s because
we're
003 was dead in the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, maybe it takes them a while to like replace them. Like turnover's not very high, so maybe they do stay vacant for a while.
I would imagine it takes a while to train up a 00 agent.
What was the film where they were all sitting around a big table and you only ever saw Sean Connery sit down?
I believe that was Thunderball.
Was that Thunderball? Yeah, the meeting of all the 00s.
Yeah.
That was the last time they were ever in the room together.
Yeah, they don't do joint operations very often.
No, but I enjoy it when we get it, Kyle. I enjoy it when we get it. So
anyway, yeah, so he's in the mountains. He's being tracked by, like, what appears to be Russian agents.
Yes, or just baddies, generic baddies at this moment.
Yes. Goons.
Yeah, goons. Yeah, exactly. We don't use that word in its traditional sense much anymore.
Yeah, it has been rather co-opted to mean something rather different these days.
Yes, but the goons are chasing Bond down the slopes and they've got snowmobiles.
And helicopters.
And helicopters
guns, yeah.
with guns, yeah. But Bond's, he's jockeying different vehicles here, isn't he? He decides he's going to swoop onto the snowmobile, but the snowmobile immediately gets destroyed.
Yes.
And is this our first instance of snowboarding, Kyle?
Oh, this is the 80s. It's so radical.
It is. It's very cool. Very cool. There's one bit of aggressive rear screen projection. I always just need to know. But Kyle, it's so cool and so radical. We need a bit of we need some music to go over this, Kyle, right?
I was going to say, it's so cool and so radical that we pulled out the Beach Boys. Famous band from the 60s.
Famous 20-year-old band at this point, the Beach Boys, for a song called California Gold, which, what the hell does that have to do with snowboarding?
Well, you see, Nathan, there's a lot of similarities between snowboarding and surfboarding. They're both on boards, so...
Okay,
you know,
okay, I stand corrected, okay.
They're both on boards, and the Beach Boys, you know, the beach, that's where you do surfing, so really it makes perfect sense.
And Bond is near a body of water, so it's like a snow beach of some sort, some would say.
He does, like, somehow board over some water. Yes, he does do that.
Yeah, well, he sees a fast travel checkpoint and, like, popping out of the ground.
A little Union Jack. Yeah.
A little Union Jack, like, disc, just sort of in the middle of nowhere, and he just runs over to it and climbs inside.
Yeah, it's like a safe room.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's like when a white mechanic goes off and you have a little safe room. So he goes in there, and it's actually a submarine made to look like an iceberg. And there's a woman waiting.
There's a sexy lady inside. Yeah. Yes.
She's like,
and also it's lavish in there.
Oh yeah. This is like the escape pod from Moonraker.
Or the escape pod from The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes, yeah. But he's been shopping.
Yes.
He's got lots of bits and goodies for them because they're going to be trapped in here to go to Alaska for 5 days.
So yeah, they're currently in Siberia somewhere, I guess.
Apparently, yeah. Doesn't look like Siberia. I've never been, but you know.
It's like snowy mountains. Looks like Siberia to me. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just when I think of Siberia, I think of it being more flat. But what do I know? I've never been. People now send us pictures. People now send us pictures, Kyle, of the massive snowy, slopey mountains of Siberia, and I'm just like wrong. Like I know nothing, which is true. I do know nothing. It just didn't meet my stereotypical assumption of Siberia.
I would say my stereotype of Siberia is mountains. We're getting so off track.
Siberia to me is like Rurapente.
The point is he has sex with this lady in the submarine, Nathan.
They have a throttle next to the bed, Kyle, to speed up the submarine so she'll fall back into bed with him.
Yes.
Which is so specific, and I can only assume that Q made it for Bond.
Well, as we learned from the end of this movie, Q is adapted to Bond's antics at this point.
Yeah, it took three actors, but you finally just got used.
Well, anyway, yeah, he has sex with this lady on the way back to Alaska, and we cut into our intro, which is
Duran Duran's A View to a Kill, Kyle. Possibly my favourite Bond song ever, if not the favourite, just so up there. I have my notes, I say this is probably my favourite song since Thunderball. You don't like it, do you?
And no, I'm not a fan of this song at all. I think Nathan, I'm a big fan of Duran Duran. I think they're a classic band of the 80s. They
Yes.
are iconic sound of the 80s.
Uh-huh.
I think this song sounds like a hot mess.
I just can't believe how wrong you are. And Kel, you know what? You're not only wrong, you're against the curve of like time and like pop culture. Because this song, Kel, performed well in the charts, becoming the only Bond theme song to reach number 1 in the Billboard Hot 100, earning a Golden Globe nomination for Best Song. Right?
Fine. I'm happy to die on this hill. I associate Duran Duran with very clean production. Like, they're very, like, everything is, like, very crisp. And everything in the song is just like, oh, we're going to add some noises here, and it's just going to sound really messy. I just don't like the sound of it.
I don't know what you're talking about with these words that you're saying. They don't relate to the experience I have listening to it.
Also, it's so clear to me that this is a song called Dance Into the Fire that they hastily wrote A View to a Kill into the lyrics of.
Into the fire. No, because Bond dances into a fire, Kel, when he's getting out of the California State Office in the ladder.
That's him dancing out of a fire.
He's being a hero, Kyle. He's being a hero. And also they use the motif of this song just beautifully, in my opinion.
I like the motif of the song and the way it's used in the movie. I just don't like the actual Duran Duran version of the song.
You're just wrong, and it upsets.
That's fine.
But it upsets me. That's why I need you to like it. I need you to go. No, this is good actually. In the matter of fact,
I'm sorry.
This song.
I don't know what else to tell you. I just don't like the song.
This song frequently comes. I probably listen to this Bond song probably more than any other Bond song in terms of like a song that I don't even primarily always connect to being from the movie. You know, you listen to like a song and you'll go, oh, it's the song from the Bond movie. This song I just listened to, and you kind of go, oh, and it was also the Bond song for that film, you know? I just love it, and I can never shut up about it. I just think it's brilliant. But
I'm sorry.
It's not
Man with the
every
Golden Gun
good
is still
song.
my favourite so far.
Every good Bond song, Kyle, is accompanied with good visuals, Kyle.
Uh-huh.
And what's the visuals for this film?
Well, someone in the production crew discovered neon body paint.
Neon everything, neon makeup, neon clothing.
Yeah. It's very 80s.
Yeah, right? And I love it, Kyle. It's a little bit suggestive, but the model dancer at the start unzips her top, and as her chest sort of opens up, the Bond logo's there, and it's all in neon paint. Brilliant stuff. All very Bond-like, you know?
There's a moment where Bond shoots a lady and she turns into crystals or ice or something. Just a weird abstract visual. I've noted that it looks like he shoots him with a Mr. Freeze frame.
There's a lot of Rodger Moore in these titles as well.
Yes.
I think he's very active.
Doing his classic sort of posing with a gun and like,
sort of lying at a 3/4 angle looking up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good for me. For my money. I just think it's a strong song, strong visuals. And sometimes that's all I want. I'm sometimes quite picky in a Bond movie, but other times you just go with it. And this is one of those ones where I'm just going with it, you know?
I'm happy that you're happy, Nathan.
Thank you, Kel. I appreciate that. But when we come out of the titles, we're not even in Alaska. This is like See You in Miami, you know? We're right.
Call back.
we're right into Whitehall, baby.
Yep.
We're right into London.
We have an exterior shot of MI6, which I don't think we usually get.
We have had this before in the Moore era, the Connor era, but it's literally the Ministry of Defence building across from Downing Street. Like behind those cameras is Downing Street.
Yeah.
And we get met with Louise Maxwell. Hello, Moneypenny.
Yeah, no more. Oh God, what was her name? Moneypenny's assistant.
Oh, you'll need to check.
In the last movie.
You'll need to check. Your notes are quicker than mine.
She had some silly name.
Yeah, let me have a look.
I didn't take a note of her name, but yeah,
see if I noted it
her assistant is gone. Moneypenny's back. Her assistant got fired for budget cuts, so Moneypenny's just doing all herself again.
Her name was Miss Penelope Smallbone.
Penelope Smallbone.
Yeah.
Yep, she's gone, but Louise Maxwell is back, so.
Louise Maxwell's back. And this is quite like Rodger Moore's last time. This is Louise Maxwell's last time as Miss Moneypenny.
She really had a good run. What's that? Almost... That's at least 20 years she was in these movies.
No, she's in 14 films.
Damn good run.
Yeah.
Damn good run.
The only person that is in more Bond movies than her is
Is Desmond Llewellyn.
Is Desmond Llewellyn's Q, yeah. Good for her, Louise Maxwell. You know, it was her idea for the next M to be a woman.
Good choice.
Yeah, good choice. And they thought, we'll go with someone that's a little bit like a Louise Maxwell, but not you, actually. Let's go for Judi Dench, you know?
It would have been so fun if it was Louise Maxwell, but oh well.
Wouldn't it, though? The things that never happened, You can't really fault Judi Dench, you know? But listen,
Anyway.
I'll bring that all back up when we get to GoldenEye.
Yeah.
We've got another actor to go before then, and this film.
Yes. Well, Moneypenny lets him into Q's office, and we get a classic skip the banter. Moneypenny, send Bond in, because we're playing with our robot cars in here.
We're sitting with our RC cars, yeah. We're just racing it around. The Minister of Defence
We're all dressed
is here.
up in three-piece penguin suits, playing with a little toy car.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Q's here, the Minister of Defence is here, whose name I have had written down from previous movies. This is a returning character and actor as well. And M is here as well, the Admiral.
Yeah.
We get our first ever possible explanation of an EMP.
I don't know, but this is classic thing in a movie where they have to explain what EMP means. You don't have to do that in movies anymore. Everyone understands what EMP is.
Yeah, in the 80s, though,
yes,
I'm willing to let this slide, you know?
Yes. An electromagnetic pulse. Which it's weird that they explain all this because it never comes up again in the movie. I kind of assumed that at some point an EMP would go off, but it never does.
Yeah, this is your film tourism. It's actually technological tourism. We're being told just the concept of an EMP. It's setting us up for the future. I think this film gets a pass for its EMP explanation. Though I do admit that its failing is that an EMP actually never goes off. But it is sort of establishing the stakes. An EMP can go off and it can make sure your toaster doesn't work anymore, Kyle, which is not good.
I would say my major problem with this movie is it takes a while to actually understand what the villain's motive is.
Yes, I would agree.
Because, in this scene, they sort of explain, okay, we have these microchips and they are susceptible to EMPs, but the Russians have technology that is not susceptible to EMPs. Their microchips are immune, which I don't think is true, but in this movie, they've invented that.
So the chip that Bond gets from the body of 003 is a computer chip impervious to EMP, but they know that despite the fact that the KGB now have it, it is not of KGB origin, which means someone is giving Western technology to the Russians.
And they assume it's this guy called Zorin.
Zorin, yes,
Who we should note neither the name Zorin nor any other name or character in this film is meant to portray a real company or actual person.
Yeah, for some reason. That's neither the name Zorn nor any other name or character in this film is meant to portray a real company or actual person. What a thing to open. This is before the gun barrel.
Yes, so I did look into this,
right, okay.
And I can explain to you as they came up with the name Zorn, which is a sort of rough translation of, it means like prosperity or something in Israeli or Latin or something like that. Okay. It's a name that's based on other stuff.
Yeah.
But they did not realize when they were making the film that there is an actual company in Silicon Valley who makes microchips called Zoran, spelled with an A, not an I.
Oh, okay.
And so they got in hot water when the movie was first announced because they're like, hey, is this meant to be me, Mr. Zoran, the real person? And so it was too late to change the movie, but so they had to quickly add in this
disclaimer
thing before the start of the movie that says, no, don't sue us. We weren't talking about you.
It is quite comical how much his logo is plastered everywhere over like everything in this film. Like the Zorn mining facility, the blimp. Because I always thought, because he's got a weird N on the logo. I didn't like it. I don't like the logo.
Yes.
Kyle, can you please tell me the name of the villain from Star Trek Generations?
Oh. Is it Zorin?
I think so. I'm looking at the cast.
Very good, yeah.
Oh, Soren, his name is.
Soren, okay. Totally different.
Yeah. I was like, when I saw his name, I was like, is that a guy from Star Trek Generations? But no, there's an S instead of a Z. It's entirely different.
The movie really buries the lead on all of this microchip stuff because immediately we go to the horse races.
Yes, we do decide to go to the horse racing because Zoran is a horse racer. His horses are performing extraordinarily well for some reason.
Yes.
And we
The
think
British
that-
government assumes that he's cheating. We have our man on the inside of the British horse racing industry, and that's Sir Godfrey Tibbet.
Sir Godfrey Tibbet, yes.
Pay attention to him. He's an up-and-comer, that's Sir Godfrey Tibbet.
Yeah, I think he's going places. He's certainly going into the runtime of this film, anyway.
Yeah, so that's why everyone in the office is dressed up in their three-piece suits.
Yeah, everyone is
It's
going
because
for
they're
a
going
day
to
at
the
the
horse
races.
races.
Yeah. Everyone.
Which, is this a thing? That everyone dresses up in top hats to go to the horse races?
yeah.
Because that's the most British thing I've ever seen in my life.
They do this here as well. There's actually recently the air races were on in air, and I have some friends that enjoy going to the races, and they all get dressed up. They all dress up to the nines, and they work in like the same sector as me, right? So you know, like the kind of job it is, and the kind of people that go there, and they're getting all
These are not high-class people, yeah.
yeah, people from all walks of life get all done up to like absolutely.
That's
This is what
so
happens.
British.
I to be honest, I don't understand it. I always thought
No,
horse races
it's-
is like, you know, when like Homer Simpson and takes like Bart and Lisa to go to the dog track and they get Santa's Little Helper. And it's all kind of
Yes.
like just drunken dads. That's kind of what I thought the horse races was like as well. But no, it's
horse races is like the last grasp of the aristocracy, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it definitely is.
Anyway, yeah. So, Zoran's horse is behind, but suddenly has a burst of speed at the end, and everyone's like, "That's suspicious."
Yeah, that's
So,
a bit weird.
yes.
I quite
So
like
the
this
plot
though,
of this
Kyle.
movie
This
is
is
actually-
like everyone's getting together to go to the races. Like you never see the office people get out and about, do you?
Yes. Well, this is also where we do get a glimpse of our main villain, who, as you mentioned, is played by Christopher Walken, who we can talk about more. Also, he is always accompanied by his henchwoman Mady, played by Grace Jones. Is that her name?
Yeah, I didn't actually know her name.
She's a sort of abstract musician, but she has a very distinct look, which I like.
Yeah,
She's a very like
gorgeous.
unique looking woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very sort of runway model esque.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and the two of them are just a very visually interesting pair, because Christopher Walken, he always wears like these red tinted glasses in this movie, and has this like bleach blonde hair.
Very Daredevil spectacles.
Yes. Well, I did see, and I don't know how true this is, that they originally wanted to give this role to David Bowie, which would make a lot of sense.
I can see that. Oh yeah.
Yes.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that actually. That casting. I mean, you can't fault Christopher Walken, but David Bowie would do a good job with this. He also Christopher Walken almost was too good for this.
Christopher Walken is a very strange actor.
Yes, he is. But I think too good for this. I think David Bowie would have fit in wonderfully into this.
Well, anyway, we cut immediately to tourism for this week, Nathan. It's Paris.
We're going to Paris for a bit, not for very long though.
Not for very long, but we are in the Eiffel Tower. So
We are in the Eiffel Tower. We get the iconic shot from this movie coming up. I'll tell you
Yes.
when we get there.
I know which one you're talking about, but Bond is there to meet with Sir Godfrey Tibbet's good detective friend Hercule Poirot.
Yes, yeah, we are here for Achille Aubergine.
Yes, he's an overweight French detective with a big mustache.
Is he overweight?
I thought he was kind of overweight. Maybe I'm imagining
I just
this
saw him-
because I'm
I
just
just saw him
making
sit-
him
I just
look
saw
like
him-
Hercule
I
Poirot.
just saw him sitting down.
Although Hercule Poirot is actually Belgian, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Or yeah.
I think you're meaning Detective Clouseau. The other funny
Maybe I
European
am,
private
yes.
detective who actually is French from the Pink Panther tales.
Okay. Yes. Fine.
But Achille Aubergine is aubergine. Wow, or aubergine. I think it's just aubergine.
Maybe.
He is suspicious of Zoran. He knows there's nonsense going up with these horses that he's riding and breaking late and coming out with all sorts. They think that they're basically doping the horses, and
Yes.
Achille Aubergine he's onto it. He will get there, but in the show they're watching,
Yes.
there's like butterflies that are part of the show, and there's like men in shadow suits at the side of the stage and behind the audience, sort of overhanging the butterflies on fishing rods for the effect.
Yes.
But one of them is actually Mayday, Zoran's assassin.
Well, Mayday knocks the guy out and replaces him, and no one notices.
Yes. And
But that's just part of the theatre, you know. Those people dressed in black, you're supposed to pretend they're not there.
you're supposed to pretend they're not there, exactly. So, but the butterfly that she has is like almost like a ninja star on a stick.
Yes.
And she sort of swoops it around and hits Achille Aubergine in the side of the neck as he says he's onto the case.
Yes.
So R.I.P. Achille Aubergine. In this one scene, you talk a lot, and Bond just sort of sits there and listens, and then you die.
Yep.
And Bond gets up to go after the assailant, and when everyone's looking around him, really shocked, he says, "There's a fly in his soup."
Yep. Not the time, Bond. The man is dead.
Is that a French joke?
I think it's just a restaurant joke.
No, but like they're frogs, you know. They eat flies, you know.
I think it's just like
You're unfamiliar with
the
the Parisian banter of French people and frogs because they eat legs and stuff.
I guess infamously English people hate French people, so I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was what the banter was supposed to be, but yeah, also restaurant banter would work as well. But
yes, Bond chases them through what I think is a pretty cool action scene climbing around on the Eiffel Tower.
yeah, and then this is where the iconic shot is of Bond sort of at an angle looking up the stairs with the gun out in the tuxedo.
Yes.
It's a very nice shot, actually, I think. It's very good. Roger
Well, the
Moore
other
looks
iconic shot is Mayday base jumping off the Eiffel Tower, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, oh no, that is Assassin's Creed wishes it could do this.
It does.
Yeah.
Actually, you might do that in Unity. I don't know if you actually jump off it, though.
You don't. The Eiffel Tower isn't there.
No, you remember there's like the rifts in Unity where you go to different
you go
time
to World
periods.
War I and stuff. I don't think you jump off it, though.
Yeah.
You go at the top of it.
I think you might jump off. You go to the top of it and then you jump off it into like a big rift. You don't actually go all the way to the bottom.
I see. Well, there's a nice black and yellow Thunderbolts-esque from Marvel Studios parachute that Mayday has on.
Yes.
And she gets into a boat or something, a speedboat.
Oh yeah, Bond is on the back foot of this chase the entire
Oh, yeah.
time. So
Bond knows better and he takes the lift down.
yeah, he jumps on top of the lift, which is pretty cool, but then he steals a poor Frenchman's taxi.
Yeah. Crazy English,
And-
the guy says. Well, this taxi driver's sitting drinking wine, red wine, in the driver's seat of his car.
The entire back half of this taxi is destroyed by a lorry, so
Yeah. I'm surprised there's no quips. Half a car, Bond, nothing to say
there
about
is no
that.
quips, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a very weird thing that happens, but yeah. So Mayday, she gets down to the river and gets on a boat, and it's like a wedding craft, and Bond jumps down and crashes the wedding.
Yeah, and he says congratulations to the bride and groom or something like that, and then he gets arrested by the ship chefs with their big knives.
Yes, because Mayday managed to escape this boat, and he just gets caught. So yeah, Bond, he's no match for Mayday, who is very skilled apparently.
But Mayday was running away so much, he never got a good look at his face.
No, yes. Nor did Bond, I guess, even though I guess she was wearing like a ninja outfit, but even then she has like the giant square at the top of the ninja outfit where her big hair is.
Yeah.
So,
But really it's more of a good grace for Bond that he wasn't recognised. Because M goes and bails him out for like 6 million francs or whatever. Or that's how much the repair cost is.
Nathan, he violated the Napoleonic Code.
Yes, he did. That is a thing that is claimed. So, but Bond is now given a cover and told to go with Sir Geoffrey Tibbett to Zoran's mansion. Godfrey Tibbett, and to go to Zoran's mansion because there's a horse sale going on that Achille Aubergine opens him up to, tells him about, basically.
Yes. Well, this is where we get. I like to keep track of Bond's cover identities.
Yes.
And this is a crazy one.
This is a crazy one.
Mr. James St. John Smythe, wealthy equestrian. James St. John Smythe.
James
St.
John Smythe is a hell of an... Because I thought it was just St. John Smythe at first. But then later on, when he introduces himself to the Nazi of the film, he says the name's...
Yeah, he's like, St. John Smythe, James St. John Smythe. Yes.
It's like, what? What? Why? You were clear. You didn't need to say that.
I can confidently say I've never met anyone in my life called St. John. So
Yeah.
it's yeah.
I met a John Paul, you know, and Jean-Luc.
But yeah, no, say they also pronounce it like St. John in the movie. Like
Yeah, they
don't
do.
pronounce it St. John.
They do, yeah. But listen, he's the people everywhere seems to be falling for it. They all love him when he shows up. The head of the house comes down, and it's like, oh,
there's good gags because
Yeah.
Sir Godfrey Tippett. He's basically posing as the role that Sir Godfrey Tippett would have had. So
Yeah.
now Sir Godfrey Tippett is posing as his driver.
He's now like playing the role of Parker from the Thunderbirds.
Yes,
He's Lady Penelope's driver. Yeah.
and he's not having a good time because Bond is having a good time.
Yeah. Bond is loving this.
Because it's an essential part of their cover. You see that Bond is a terrible boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the head of the house says, would you like to go and look at the horses right now because the sale's just about to start? And Bond says, yes, that's over there. And he goes, no, that's the servants' quarters. There's the stables, and it's this grand palatial estate over the hill with horses all over it. And the servants' quarters, they look awful relative to this place. And it was because it was built by some
they
old...
look awful in comparison to a mansion, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a horse stable. And
Yeah.
it's apparently because the Duke that built it thought he would be reincarnated as a horse.
What a world building detail.
Yeah, well, that's what Zoran said. And I'm just equipped with nothing but to accept that that's the truth. And during this little horse sale that Bond goes to see, Sir Godfrey actually is doing the real spy work of the film.
Yes. Well, yeah, he's sneaking into the stables to find out what's what.
Yeah, and he's seeing like horses
there is
disappear
a good bit
around
of spy
corners.
work. A good bit of spy work I like, which is when they get to Bond's room, they just have a recording set up of Bond being a debt to Sir Godfrey Tippett that they just put under the bug to make it sound like they're still in the room.
Well, we haven't got there.
Which I thought was quite
We
funny.
haven't got there. We actually don't go to the room until after he's went and looked at the horses, because after he goes and looks at the horses and Godfrey has a little snoop around the back little stables where horses are mysteriously disappearing, we are then taken to the front of the house to go up and view the room, and this is where we're introduced to Jenny Flex.
Jenny Flex,
Yeah,
yes.
we haven't met her at that point yet.
She enjoys an early ride.
She enjoys an early ride, and Bond is conveniently an early riser himself.
Meanwhile, Sir Godfrey Tippett is carrying all the suitcases up the stairs.
And he's just looking incredibly red-faced and put upon, yeah. And he's...
We can only assume this man has made tremendous efforts to the British government since he is a Knight of the
Yeah,
Realm.
he is Sir Godfrey Tippett, and he's like carrying all Bond's luggage around, and he's panting because Jenny Flex says that she'll get a porter, and Bond says, "Oh, that won't be necessary. So he'll do it." He's
Come along, Tippett. Yes.
actively putting Tippett in it,
Well, as I say, it's an essential part of the cover that he's a shit
Yeah.
boss. So,
But this is indeed the part of the film where Bond then puts the recording device into the lamp that is just of him just berating Tippett.
Yeah, no, I just like this because they're pretending to have an argument about suitcases while they're actually scanning the room for bugs.
Yes,
It's good.
No,
I like
It
this.
is good. It is very good. It is good. This is.
And then they're sat on the balcony and it's like, and Sir Godfrey's like, "How long do we have to keep up this charade, Bond?" And Bond's like, "Well, after a while, this your cover identity should become second nature, Mr. Tippett."
Yeah, you can't just turn it on and off. It just be natural. We need to keep it up all the time, actually, Sir Godfrey. And Godfrey never really seems to argue about it. I think Godfrey's he should be a lord, frankly.
He's a patriot. He does what
he's
necessary.
a real patriot of the British state, because he's putting up with all Bond stuff in a way that Q would never. Q would tell Zorn the whole story rather than put up with this, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, yeah, they also see a lady who doesn't become an important character till much later in the movie, but we do see her get off a helicopter, and the music tells you she's very attractive because it goes like, wow,
I'm a Stacey Sutton.
And Godfrey's like, "Oh, Bond, you're supposed to be on a mission." And James says, "Sir Godfrey, on a mission, I am expected to sacrifice myself," by which he means have sex with this pretty lady.
Well, we do end up down at the the garden party, if you like.
Yes.
And this, I mean, I'm convinced by this point that Sir Godfrey wants to kill James Bond.
Yeah, because Sir Godfrey doesn't get to go to the party.
But Bond's sort of snooping around, and then he's sort of taken up on by an old creepy man with a monocle.
Yes. Who I suppose is the real villain of the movie, technically.
Kind of, yeah. He's like a second
sort
rail
of.
villain that's just kind of actually the real person pulling the strings, but the film never quite gets into it. Well, his apparent name is Dr. Karl Mortner.
Yes, he works with the horses.
He works with the horses.
He's this weird German scientist.
He's a weird German scientist. He's a very old man, and he works with the horses for Zorn. He's his breeding consultant, apparently.
I will say, this guy, he looks sort of like when they do old age makeup in TNG.
A bit, yeah.
Like, he's clearly not actually an old man. He's wearing, like, old age prosthetics.
So I think he's really this old.
No, I think he's wearing prosthetics. He has, like, a fakeness to his
Interesting.
face.
We'll need to. Well, I didn't take it as fakeness at the time. We'll need to look into this.
Okay.
I'm going to look into it right now. And we're going to edit down the dead space. Oh, I have it here. Hurry up. Is Hans Glob.
He's clearly not a very important cast member because he's not showing up at all. Oh, there he is. Wallaby Gray.
Wallaby Gray. Yeah. So who's Wallaby Gray?
He was born in 1916, so he was old.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong. I knew it wasn't TNG makeup.
I think it's just the monocle makes him look old, looks fake. Because who the fuck wears a monocle?
A Nazi.
I guess, yeah. He's really Baron von Struckering it.
He has really Baron von Struckering it. You're right.
Okay, I'm sorry that I said your face looks fake.
Sorry,
Well,
you
be great. You did die in 1983 before I was born.
Sorry,
but,
look
you
at
know.
TNG rubber monster. Sorry, look at that one admiral that's de-aging.
Okay, well. Anyway, pay attention to him because, yeah. He catches Bond snooping around. He's like, oh, I was just looking for the bathroom, sir.
The bar.
Yes. The bar, right.
Because he's like, oh, I'll
But
show
this is
you where
where-
it is.
Yes. This is also where St. John Smythe eventually meets Zorin
Yep, this is where
at the party.
Yep. And this is where we kind of get into the meat of Zorn just having his cover of being you're interested in buying the horses, and here's what we do with the horses, and I'm a eugenicist, you know?
Yeah. And this is where I say that Christopher Walken is such a strange actor because Christopher Walken has such a weird way of talking where, like, sometimes it sounds like he's a bad actor, but he's not. It's just, like, his way of talking. Do you get that? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, part of his story, his backstory, is that he has no accent. He's, like, been born and brought up in multiple different countries in his youth or something like that in the film.
He speaks 5 different accents without an accent, they say.
Yeah, languages without an accent.
5 different languages, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know, I like Christopher Walken, by the way, as an actor. I enjoy him as an actor, and I think I'm just so used to Christopher Walken isms that they just self-edit out of my brain. I can't even assess them. I've nothing.
It's
I've
weird
no
to see
notes
a
of his
young Christopher
performance.
Walken because I'm so used to old Christopher Walken and stuff.
I think the youngest
So this is like a young...
I've seen him is maybe in Pulp Fiction.
That's around about this time as well, isn't
It's
it?
about 10 years later.
Right, okay.
But I mean, still relatively.
So this is the
speaking.
youngest Christopher Walken you've seen,
Yeah, this
then?
is the youngest Christopher Walken I've seen. I don't know. I like him in this. I do like him.
No, he's good, yeah.
Then after Zorn leaves and Mortner leaves, Bond goes over to speak to Stacey Sutton, who's standing on a little bridge by herself. They kind of talk a lot
Yes.
about nothing, about what you're doing here and who you are, and then Zorn sends
Yes.
Mayday over to tell Stacey that she's to leave now.
Yeah, for some reason, Zorin does not want Bond talking to Stacey Sutton.
Yep. And then Mayday's like, I'll see that she gets taken away safe. You can just stay here and enjoy the party. And he's like, oh, I'm sure I will, or something like that. This is with a view to
Well, he
Echo
says,
motif,
like,
really.
oh... He's like, someone should take care of me personally, or... He does some sort of suggestive thing to Mayday. I can't remember exactly what he says, but it does come up later.
It does. But we kind of cut to nighttime now, and Bond and Godfrey are going to break into the horse lab that Godfrey observed earlier for horses sort of disappearing.
Godfrey observed earlier that the horse disappeared.
Yes.
So they're like, why did the horse disappear?
So they're kind of looking around, trying not to touch anything, like in a way that means that they won't be caught. But then two goons do come in and they're set upon. And Godfrey is not one for fighting, and he immediately kind of folds like a deck chair, and Bond deals with them. It was like a conveyor belt of cardboard, but with wooden crates sort of stapling
They have,
them up.
there's like a printing press of crates. It's like an assembly line for crates that appears to be working through the night, even though there's no one actually working them.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Automation, Kel. Here to take other jobs.
Automation, yes. But Bond shoves them in and punches the guy with the crate press, and he says, it's all wrapped up now.
Yeah, don't worry, it's all wrapped up.
Good work, Bond.
Yeah, good one.
But yeah, they discover like a secret evil horse lab where they're doing secret evil horse experiments.
Yes, they do. Where they're like turning them into Cannonian things.
Which I find so funny because this actually has nothing to do with Zoran's plot. This is just another thing that Zoran is also up doing.
Yes, this is absolutely nothing to do with anything. This is just another evil scheme that he does. But this is also roughly around about the same time where Mayday finally realises that Bond is the man from Paris.
Yes, because they realise that Bond is... They realise there's a break-in in the lab, and they already suspect that Bond is doing it.
Yes.
But they don't have any proof yet, and then Mayday's like, he's the guy from Paris!
Yep. And then Zoran then also talks to Bond and runs like his picture through a computer of his, and it tells him he's a spy.
Well, before that, to cover for where he's been, because they go to Bond's room and it's empty, and like, oh, he must be the guy. But he slips into Mayday's room.
Yes.
And says, oh, are you not going to take care of me, Mayday? And then even knowing that he's a spy, Mayday just has sex with him anyway.
Yep, and...
Like, okay.
And Zoran's just like, oh, have fun. Zoran just leaves them to it.
Yeah, even though they also have some sort of weird thing going on.
I think, even though they're not related, I think it's supposed to be kind of like implied incestuous relations, because we find out that both of them are genetic mutants as well.
Yes, they are literally Cannonian things.
Yeah, they are literally Cannonian things. They're super intelligent and psychotic and strong, and they're all sort of
very strong.
They're the works of Karl Mortner, aka the Nazi.
Yes,
and
this movie has Nazi super soldiers in it.
These guys are Winter Soldiers.
They are literally Winter Soldiers.
They are Winter Soldiers. And they sort of think they're better than everyone. I think they were both raised from concentration camps as children. Their mothers were...
Something like that,
We'll get into it later on, because this is all given to us as exposition later on. And I'll talk about it then, because I have it all noted down quite specifically. But
yeah, we do see a couple times that Mayday is like supernaturally strong. Yes.
Now, Bond, the next day, sees Sir Godfrey Tippett washing the car and says, you need to go and like check in with base. And then they're like, what happens if they ask where I'm going? And they just say, tell him you're going for a car wash, but he's already in the middle of washing the car. So he throws all the shitty soapy water back over the car again.
Yeah, more reviews for Sir Godfrey Tippett.
He's just been hard at work rafting that car clean for all for nothing.
But yeah, there is a scene where, Zoran invites St. John Smythe to his office, and he has a little computer where he takes secret pictures of Bond and scans it into the evil database for Bond villains that says, oh, this is actually James Bond, MI6 agent. Why is that in a database? Oh, it's probably because James Bond gives his real name to everyone.
Yes, he even added James onto fucking St. John Smythe.
He doesn't... Like, James Bond is smart enough to know that if he chooses a fake name, he'll get it wrong, so he always just names all his identities James.
Yeah, exactly. When Sir Godfrey goes to the car wash, he's not alone.
No, Mayday slips into the back of the car.
And during the car wash, Sir Godfrey Tippett is murdered.
It's a good horror movie shot, because you just sort of see like a shadow rise from the back seat and start to strangle
Well, that's exactly, I think, believing, in my mind, supposed to be a callback to a death from the first Halloween movie, 1978, 1979? 1978. Which is what happens quite iconically. Michael Myers shows up in the back of the car, except it's a more close-up shot and it's darker. This is similar, but not exactly. It's echoing that anyway, in my mind. But it is quite a good shot, quite bloodless.
Anyway, rest in peace, Sir Godfrey Tippett.
Night of the Realm.
You were a real workhorse.
That was a real shit final mission.
Poor guy. Anyway, so Zoran takes Bond down to the horse races, and this is a strange scene because he gives Bond like this super like aggro horse called Inferno, and they do this bet where it's, oh, if you can stay on this horse all the way around the race, you can keep it for no money. But really, this is just Zoran trying to kill him in a convoluted way.
Yes, instead of just taking him out the back and shooting him, yeah.
Because he has this whole horse race set up with, like, tricks to, like, fuck with people.
Yes, he does.
Where, like, it makes the jumps higher and it makes the jumps further back.
He's just a psychopath.
Which really, this is and this is a criticism I have of all horse races. It really seems like the horse is doing most of the work here, and Bond is just sort of holding on.
Yes, the morality of horse racing is dubious to say the least. But you just kind of got to roll with it for this film.
But anyway, it isn't working, and Bond keeps holding on. So Zoran hits the make the horse go insane button.
Yes, he hits the bane button, the bane poison button.
Yeah. So that just makes the horse go crazy and run into the woods.
The horse gets really big and really aggro. It has a Mexican voice. It has a mask.
Yeah. Yeah. This is all definitely things that happen in the movie.
Definitely things that happen in the movie. Yeah. But yeah, so
there's a good little fake out where he sees Sir Godfrey Tippett's car driving, and he's like tries to jump on board and say, "Go, Godfrey Tippett, get us out of here!"
Yes, he gets in the back seat, and Sir Godfrey's in the back seat. Oh,
yeah.
It's Mayday driving the car. Dun dun dun. So everyone shows up to the car. Bond's done. We're driving the car to a swamp. We're going to let the car sink. Bond's going to drown.
Yep. And you know what? I'll give them props for being good Bond villains because they actually stay and watch to make sure he's actually dead. It doesn't work, but at least they tried,
They
you know?
do try. They do. And Bond is able to break out of the car. And then I think this is a rare moment of Bond being quite clever. He sucks in the air from the car tires to stay underwater for longer.
No, yeah, I like that. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but I thought it was cool in the moment.
Exactly. I know nothing about this kind of thing either, but it does in your head kind of work for the moment, you know? And then they leave, and he's allowed to stay underwater longer due to the air in the tires, and then by the time he needs to surface, they're gone. But we go back to the horse field, if you like, with Zoran, and he's having a meeting with someone. It's a familiar face, Kyle.
It's our good old friend, our good old comrade, General Gogol, back on his bullshit once again.
Nice to see you, General Gogol, you scallywag.
I really didn't expect General Gogol to be such a recurrent character in these movies, but he's been in most of the Moore movies, I think.
Yeah, most of them, that's for sure. And sometimes he's like sometimes he's just a right-out villain, sometimes he's just like an anti-hero. Sometimes he's a semi-hero, depending. Definitely an anti-hero sometimes.
Well, we reveal in this scene that Zoran used to work for the KGB.
Yes,
as we're told by a special surprise cameo from Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren is Google's bodyguard.
Yes.
What a crazy before they were famous moment here. I don't know how long this is before he shows up in Rocky.
I didn't recognize him because he has jet black hair.
Does he? I thought it was like dirty blonde.
Normally. I'm pretty sure when you see him in the scene he's got black hair, because that's why I didn't even realize it was him until I read your notes.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter. But yeah, I noticed him immediately when he was sort of out of frame in the background. But yeah, it's nice to see Dolph Lundgren before he was famous.
Yeah, because his first like big fame would probably be like Rocky 3, right?
Be for is it not Rocky 2? Is it Rocky 3? I thought Rocky 3 was Clubber Lang, Mr. T.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's Rocky 2 then. I've only seen the first Rocky movie, so
that's fine. That's okay. My Rocky knowledge is very spotty.
I, of course, know him as Amber Heard's dad in the Aquaman movies.
As you should.
That's
As
yes.
you should. But
yeah, so Gogol, Zoran used to work for Gogol, but Zoran has since betrayed the KGB.
In true Winter Soldier fashion.
Yeah, he's gone rogue. And Mayday picks up Dolph Lundgren over her head.
Really hammering in on the genetic mutant stuff here. They're just being like physically superior and arrogant, you know?
Yeah, no, I like them. I think they have a cool visual. I just think Mayday is such an iconic like look as a Bond henchman villain type,
absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. And she has personality, she talks.
Yeah, no, she's good, yeah. I like her, and I like her combination with Christopher Walken.
So
they're a good pair.
How does this meeting with Gogol end? Because they come to some sort of understanding, don't they?
Well, a bunch of Zoran's own goons rush in with machine guns and basically say, I don't work for you anymore. And Gogol's like, well, fair play, but you know, I'm going to come for you later.
Okay, yep, see you around, bucko. Why didn't they just kill Gogol?
I feel like it would be too much trouble. You don't want to piss off the Russians by killing Gogol. That's going to cause some issues, you know?
True. But we're now having a meeting with some business magnates about Silicon Valley hurting Zoran's microchip scheme. And we have like a plan to deal with this. That just basically all we know at this point is it's to destroy Silicon Valley. And it's the Project First Strike, whatever the hell that is. But somebody in this meeting
basically they're going to destroy Silicon Valley so that they can dominate the microchip market.
Yes, because they are also the people that were initially giving microchips to the Russians.
And this is a classic Bond villain scene because he has like the diorama that comes up out of the table. It must have taken at least $1 million to build all of this.
Especially
since we learned it's on an airship.
Yeah. So one guy at this meeting doesn't want to be here. He's like, I'm not giving you half my revenue plus like $1 million just to get in on this meeting. And they're like, that's fine, you can wait outside. Mayday will get you a drink. And then she's like, okay, just down right this way, sir. Takes him out of the meeting. The staircase turns into a slide and it goes down to an emergency exit, and he shoots out into the middle of nowhere. That's where you get the exterior shot. This is a blimp, Kyle.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh yeah, they did say a good view to a kill and all that, for some reason. But also Christopher Walken's and he turns back to the rest of the crowd and goes, so, does anyone else want to drop out? Great. Perfect.
Yeah, but just as they come through, that is indeed where Mayday goes, whoa, what have you? And then Zorn just goes, to a kill? Why? Why is it to a kill?
Because that's the name of the movie.
I understand Mayday going, whoa, what have you? Shooting an airship coming over the Golden Gate Bridge. Very iconic. We all know the Starfleet Academy map paintings. I would probably say, well, what have you as well, right? But why does Zorn say to a kill? Would it not be like a view to kill for, a view to die for, or something?
Yeah, no, it's not a phrase.
It's not a phrase. He's just saying that. Yeah, it's so weird.
Anyway, so Bond independently has also made his way to San Francisco because at the party he identified like a guy who worked for Zorn who was like a Texan oil baron.
Yes, he did. He did at the bar. That's who the Nazi introduced him to.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how he knows, and he meets up with not Felix Leiter. We have a new CIA agent.
Chuck Lee.
This is Chuck Lee, who I immediately recognized somehow as Indiana Jones's friend in Shanghai, who is posing as a waiter at the restaurant.
Dies at the start of the film.
Gets shot.
Very rare for you to catch these obscure roles, and I don't.
I don't know why, but I was like, oh, that's the guy. That's Indiana Jones's friend. He's like, I go first, Indy. Yeah, that guy.
Brilliant. I mean, good for you. I don't know why I didn't clock that. That's totally something I would have got. But yeah, apparently not.
This actor's name is David Yip, by the way. And as I also learned watching this movie, he's doing an American accent, but this guy is not American.
Oh, where's he from?
He is English.
No way, really?
Yes.
Shocking. They were going to say he was from like Hong Kong or something.
Yeah. No, he's English and he's doing not a great American accent in this movie, I would say.
Okay, honestly never noticed. Chuck Lee didn't leave an impression on me here, I'm going to be honest with you. If it wasn't for me noting down his name here,
I was paying attention to it because he was Indiana Jones' friend.
Yeah, that worked for you, but I think if I had noted his name down, I would have forgotten it. But this, Chuck Lee. We get the exposition of who Karl Mortner is now, and this is where we find out that he's actually an ex-Nazi scientist called Hans Glob, and he experimented with steroids on pregnant women in concentration camps. A lot of them lost their children. He wanted to enhance their intelligence. A few children did survive the process though, and they became super smart psychotics.
This is also where Bond goes to investigate Oil Baron Man, and this is a very strange scene because they sort of do some underwater diving stuff. Bond gets stuck in like a flume with a big fan in it.
Yes, he does. Which
he jams up. But coincidentally, unknown to Bond, there's actually another pair of secret agents infiltrating this facility, which was super unclear to me at first. Yes, I didn't realise what was going on. I thought these people were with Bond, but they aren't. This is a separate infiltration team.
From the KGB.
From the KGB. And yeah, one of them gets chopped up in the flume because Zorn shoves him down there. He basically takes the blame for what Bond was doing, and Bond's like, well, that was lucky.
Yeah, it was really lucky, yeah. And then as he gets back, like, basically someone's trying to break into his car, and it's the other agent.
Yes.
and he tackles them, and it's somebody called Paula Ivanova.
Paula Ivanova, who is, I guess, a Russian agent that Bond has history
yes,
with.
for a split second I thought this was Tasha Yar. I thought this was Denise Crosby.
She does look a bit like Denise Crosby. She's got this short blonde hair.
uh-huh.
Yeah. I think it would have been more fun if this was Agent Triple X.
It would definitely be more fun.
But, like, yeah, this is a very weird part of this movie, because you're like, oh, here's the Bond girl of this movie, but no.
Nope.
Not really.
Not really. She's here for just a quick scene. No way. We go to a relaxation spa where it's apparently they've just hired. Look, it's on the like a main high street, but they've just hired out for the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were recording tapes. The KGB agents, they had tapes of Zorn talking because they were observing covertly. And Bond is also wanting that tape, and she gets him to play music. And when he goes up to change the music, because they're talking, just, they're flirting and they're in a bath together and stuff. And he then switches out the tapes because he knows that basically she's going to ding dong ditch him after they've had their fun.
Yes.
So he hides the actual tape.
Because, hell, she comes out and General Gogol himself is waiting for her in a car.
Yeah, uh-huh.
You got to be here yourself personally, General Gogol in San Francisco. I guess he does.
Chauffeur duty. How does a notable Russian general like Gogol get into the US unnoticed? He's the best spy, actually.
I think that's the case.
He's the best spy. But Bond did switch the tapes because when she plays it, it's just some more Tchaikovsky.
Yes. Oh yeah, she says that the bubbles tickle my Tchaikovsky.
Yes, because her sentences are interrupted
good.
by Bond playing Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, because she's Russian, you see.
Yeah, because she's Russian.
I don't know if you got that, but she is Russian.
But now Bond has valuable.
But yeah, when they realize
exposition.
that it's music, Gogol and Paula Ivanova both look at themselves like, what? What?
Yeah, it's a real slapstick moment.
And that's us done with Paula Ivanova. I guess I can only assume that Gogol has her killed for her failure to secure this information.
Yeah. Like, you can't have anyone that's...
Because she never shows up again in the movie.
Never mentioned, never nothing. We see Gogol again, we never see her again. But Bond's got a new cover name because he's got to go to speak to the American government, essentially. The local Californian state government.
Yes. They've established that it has something to do with oil pipelines, so now he's talking to the local government agent on oil pipelines.
Yeah, the secretary for mining and stuff such. Yeah.
So his new cover identity is James Stock from the London Financial Times,
lazy.
which perfect font.
Just lazy.
James Stock.
The name Stock. James.
Because
Stock.
it's Financial Times, you see.
Stocks. Yeah.
So his name's
This is kind of where the film loses me for a bit.
Yeah, this is where the film gets kind of boring.
We're talking about mining rights, but it's not like fun alien mining rights in Star Wars. It's just boring. The Texans up to something. So
this is where we bring back Stacey Sutton.
She's a geologist.
She becomes the Bond girl. She's a geologist, and she has some sort of lawsuit against Zorn.
Zorn keeps trying to buy her off, basically, because she is aware that what he is doing will result in massive earthquakes along the San Andreas fault line, which will cause tsunamis and stuff. Mm-hmm. And no one's listening to her, which is why she's suing, and Zorn just wants to buy her off and shut her up. But she's not giving in.
Yeah. So Bond breaks into her house, as you do.
As you do.
He breaks into her house, but she catches him with a shotgun. And he's like, actually, it's fine, because I'm just a journalist who broke into your house, not a scary person who broke into your house. And she's like, oh, you're just a journalist. That's fine, I guess.
But goons show up.
Goons show up. It turns out the shotgun isn't actually loaded with bullets. It's loaded with rock salt. So
yeah, but...
There's a good bit in this fight, which I do like, which is Bond keeps trying to protect this urn, which is placed on the thing, because... classic Bond movie fight, someone gets smashed into the urn, but every time he keeps picking, I'm like, nope, gotta protect this precious urn.
There's a big portrait of a man above it, yeah.
Yes. And he hands it to Stacey Sutton, and then she's like, screw it, and she smashes it over one of the goons' heads.
She says, sorry, Grandad. He always loved a good fight.
He always loved a good fight. It's good.
It turns out it was the urn of her granddad's ashes, and then she offers him dinner or something, Because they all sort of run away. They leave Stacey Sutton's house and they'll jump in the car.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then I've got in my notes here, let James Stock cook, because he says like he's a good cook or something.
It turns out that James Stock is a great cook because he makes a delicious looking quiche, I have to say.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely looks edible, that's for sure. It's probably laced with some drug.
Oh, Bond wouldn't do that.
But Bond wouldn't? Oh, I think you're thinking a lot of... Maybe James Bond would, but James Stock wouldn't.
No, James Bond, Rodger Moore James Bond is a gentleman, okay?
This was
except for that one time he slapped that lady in one of those movies. I think that was what? I can't remember which movie he just slapped that lady in, but he did do that at one point. Was that Moonraker?
I can't remember. You're saying words to me now that are holding no space in my mind.
Anyway, he doesn't sleep with Stacey Sutton here because she falls asleep and he tucks her into bed.
Well, he sits in a rocking chair with a shotgun. Very, very old man of him.
Yeah, he's on defense. He calls up his good friend Chuck Lee.
Chuck Lee comes a coming running.
And then very similar thing happens where he sends Chuck Lee off to contact MI6 and fill them in on the situation, but Mary kills him in the car in the same way that she killed Sir Godfrey Tiffins.
You know?
Well, no, okay, they do establish that the goons cut off the landline.
They're
Stacey
smart.
Sutton's house. They do say that.
Yeah. Zorn and the gang have arrived to stop Bond and Sutton. They're going to burn down the State House, Kyle. Because, again, that...
Yeah, they've gone back to the State House to get some information.
Yeah, they have.
I can't remember.
I think it's maybe they want to try and, like, get to the minister guy. The secretary guy, they've now got, like, proof or something. My notes here become really spotty because I'm just so bored that the whole... Everything...
Yeah. All the stuff with Stacey Sutton is pretty boring.
From the first scene in the State House until the State House burns down, I'm just checked out of the film. Honestly, the State House is like a bookend for a boring part of the film.
Zorn and Mady come in and they shoot the guy after he gets them to call the police. Yes. And they trap the two of them in a lift and then start burning the building down. So... This is where the movie picks up again. This is where we get the View to Kill motif again in high triumphant music. And this is where I say that he's literally dancing through the fire, Kyle, you know? With a view to a kill, electric guitar style, you know? Yeah. Well, he very quickly goes from public hero to public menace. Yes, he does. Dick Tracy over here doesn't believe he's James Bond. The cops are like, who are you? Yeah, he's like, oh, you'd think Bond would have some sort of official badge you could flash, but I guess not. If you captured, that would be a pretty bad thing to have on you. Well, also, like, he, instead of just going along with the police right there, where assumedly they would get him to the station and then look him up in the files and say, oh, this actually is James Bond, a government agent, we'll have to let him out now. They don't have the kind of funding that Zorn does to have a supercomputer. Yeah. He instead punches the police out and steals the fire engine. Yep, and then they go for a big car chase to, like, a drawbridge. Yep, we got some real J.W. Peppers on this police force, let me tell you. I wish it was J.W. Pepper, Kyle. I really do. He transferred to San Francisco. He became a West Coast police officer, yeah. But I think there should be a really good shot in here of the fire truck making it up and over this ramp run on the bridge. I know, they cut it weirdly so you don't actually see it. I guess, maybe, like, they didn't film it properly or something. Maybe they didn't do it for real. Maybe it's all model work. It's probably like a huge safety hazard to do that for real. They would do it for real today. You know. It's just like limitations of the time, you know. But then all the cop cars. There is some fun stuff though, where Bond is like hanging off the edge of the ladder as it's going over cars and stuff. Because he for some reason decides to get out of the cabin and go into the rear cabin that I think only does is control the ladder. Yes. But it looks like it might actually control rear steering. I'm not sure at all what that kind of fire truck's purpose is. No, I don't know my fire truck lore. But it looks like some of those cop cars should make this ramp run as well, but they don't. They all just awkwardly brake and stop on the bridge. And then they all just start... Also, instead of stopping the bridge from keeping going up, the guy who operates the bridge is just staring there, like slack-jawed, like, oh no, what have I done? Like, stop the bridge, man! That's literally your job! Again. But no, now all these cop cars are slowly sliding down the bridge as it gets steeper and steeper, and the head cop, the captain's like, that's coming out of your paycheck. Why is it coming? And this was your idea. And then... Yeah, and then his car gets crushed by the bridge mechanism. Bridge bollard. And all the cops are laughing at him. It's not coming out of our wages, it's not coming out of yours.
Good old cop union stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well, they drive this fire truck all the way out to the desert without anyone identify. You'd think like a stolen fire truck rampaging through San Francisco would be like national
do
news.
they drive this all the way
right?
to the mines? No. Do they? I
Yes,
thought
they
they
do,
got changed
yeah.
into like another car or something before they arrive, because there's like
Well, they pull over like one of the delivery trucks by saying like, "Oh, there's a fire in your back end," and then one punches in it.
You're right.
But yeah, there's a good joke here where they sort of dress in overalls, but Stacey Suggs still has her heels on, and one of the guys notices, and he's just like, "Oh, it's the women's lib movement. They're taking over all these jobs."
Well, when we go into like the like one of the miners' like little offshoot side break rooms, I guess they find like lockers and they get changed into other different Zorn mining gear, and she's then wearing like the most fashion forward, cleanest jumpsuit ever that's clearly never been used a day in the mines, and she's got like the accessorized belt on it and everything. Like it gives her plenty of exposed ankle. She looks fantastic here, frankly, and it's just so unrealistic. You know.
Yeah, well, I think we said this before, but this is when Roger Moore decided to stop doing it, is because she's like young enough to be his
Granddaughter,
daughter,
I think.
right? Yeah, and he's like, I don't feel comfortable about this. Which fair.
Is it? What is it? This character?
I think fair enough. It must be, right?
I mean, he's had a couple of sex scenes in this movie so far, you know.
Yeah, but this is like, I think she looks pretty young to me.
Yes, I suppose so. I'd need to look up her age, but yeah, like I'm not going to say you're wrong.
Anyway, this is when we finally learn what Zorn's plan actually is, which he's got these mines on the San Andreas Fault, and he's going to both flood them and then blow them up, which will cause not just one earthquake, but a double earthquake, they call it. Because, like, both of the faults will shatter or something. They kind of hand wave this. I think it's mostly bullshit, but basically he's going to cause a big earthquake that's going to flood Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that is the exact plan. We're this long into the movie and we're finally kind of understanding what's happening here.
So yeah, once they cover it, Stacey Sutton, they've already armed this bomb that's going to go off, and it's got like a half-hour timer, and Stacey Sutton's like, we have to go and warn people. And it's like, yeah, I think it's a bit late for that, Stacey. Anyway, at this point, Zorn decides to start opening fire on all the workers in the mine.
He decides to like detonate part of the bomb to flood the place with all the miners still here. It's very strange. I don't understand why he decides to do this. Because he's a psycho.
Yeah, and him and like his third in command behind Mayday, like this guy with a scar on his face, just start opening fire on all the workers with machine guns.
I don't understand really what's happening here, because I thought that...
No, I think so.
I thought the bomb had already gone off at this moment because everything was flooding as well. But then...
Yeah, so did I, but that's only half of the plan. There's also another bomb that's
which
going
is
to
the
go
main
off.
bomb, but I thought there was only one bomb.
No, yeah, there's multiple bombs. It's
It's
very
very
strange.
strange.
But anyway, he does this while Mayday is after Bond in the tunnels. Because Bond and Stacey, they get caught and then they run away, and Stacey manages to escape, but Bond gets stuck.
Zorn and his Nazi, they get on this little cute miner train and they choo out of down the track, and they get in. They go into a little miner's office outside the mine, and they push a button, and this little miner's office becomes a bloody blimp control center. I don't understand how that works.
Yes.
But okay, I don't understand how the balloon volume could fold away that much.
But anyway, Mayday feels betrayed at this point, so she does a face turn and starts working with Bond.
Mayday is now on side. Now she's now 00 Mayday.
Yeah, she's pulled a Jaws, as we call it.
She's pulled a Jaws. That's what we're calling it. Yeah, okay. I'm on board with that. I can do that.
But yeah, so Bond and Mayday, they don't have a time to escape, so their only option now is to try and like defuse the bomb.
They want to get it out of the mine.
They want to get it out of the mine so it doesn't do the thing, and also murder them.
But the brake keeps going on the
They get it onto this main car, but the handbrake is broken, so she has to hold it open. So Mayday immediately does the self-sacrifice, which, you know, that's shock. Like, I get wanting to screw over Zorn because he just tried to kill you, but to immediately go to that, I will blow myself up to fuck with you, Zorn.
I'm pretty sure
that's
that
quite
Bond would
extreme.
have done it.
Yeah, I think Bond would have done it.
You could have got Bond. You could have like had your cake and ate it. You know. You could have fucked him over and been alive.
And then the rest of the movie, Mayday is just the main character.
Well, we had a lady Black 007 in No Time to Die. We've done it here in 1985 as well.
Oh, it would have been so woke.
I think back then people
all
wouldn't
those-
consider a thing, Kyle.
No. Well, I don't know about that. The 80s were pretty racist.
Yeah, but like, it wouldn't have been commented. There's not like the internet culture space we're in now, because people would have they wouldn't have killed off Roger Moore, basically, right?
But yeah, no, so Mayday goes out and she does like the wave thing as blimp while it blows
Yes,
up. So, it's a good way to go, I suppose.
Yes, no, it is. It is. Mayday dies very heroically. R.I.P. Mayday.
But then there's a ridiculous thing where Bonnie comes out of the tunnel and meets up with Stacy, and they're like, Stacy, look out behind you as a giant, extremely noisy blimp comes up behind her, and they reach out and kidnap her. It's ridiculous.
It's very comedic, because like, how? But yeah, how did you not hear this giant blimp coming down slowly as well? Blimps aren't fast. And it's so loud, and they just sort of, like 60s Batman villains, like the Penguin and the Joker, dipping out of the blimp and grabbing the damsel into it and driving away, going,
It's worth noting too, they have no reason to do this. Like, Stacy is meaningless to them at this point. They have no reason to kidnap her. They should only be thinking about
It's
escape.
there to add unneeded tension to Bond's chase.
Yeah.
Like, see if they had just left, Bond wouldn't even be able to rope himself onto it. They could have just got away.
They could have just got away, but yeah, they decide to kidnap Spacey for no reason in a way that makes no
Because
sense.
the film is the end, that's why.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bonnie grabs onto the rope and they fly past the Golden Gate Bridge. And there's a weird line where they try and like smash him into the Golden Gate Bridge, basically.
Which is actually
And
quite a good tactic.
Zorin says, this will hurt him more than me. And I'm like, yeah, it will. It won't hurt you at all. What are
Maybe
you
it could risk
talking about?
damaging the blimp, or maybe, the force of it or something, I don't know. But yeah. But Bond really hits the side of that bridge hard. Good for Roger Moore. He looked
He
great.
does. Yeah, so he manages to tie the blimp because he's sort of holding onto the anchoring line. So it's a pretty strong rope. So he anchors the blimp to the Golden Gate
And
Bridge.
the electric guitar right now is just shredding. This is...
Yeah, as much as it doesn't make sense that it happened, I do like this Golden Gate Bridge action sequence.
Yeah,
I think
it's quite
cool and
good.
tense.
Yeah, Christopher Walken's got an axe. He's
he pulls out a fire
he
axe.
comes down the side of the Golden Gate Bridge just after Bond hacking it, and Stacy at this point is now hanging off the side of the bridge. She's falling out the blimp. The blimp has like a hull breach because why? Or is it just the doors open?
An explosion went off at some point.
The dynamite doesn't go off yet.
I can't remember why.
The dynamite is yet to go off because for some reason, Hans.
Does it get like ripped open by crashing into the bridge at some point?
Possibly.
Because there is a point. I know there's a point where Stacy escapes and she sort of tries to grab the controls and sort of messes with it. So
maybe that's why. That's where the hull breach comes from. Just impact damage.
Also, there's a good point where Zorin says to his henchman, like, "Go out and get him," and the henchman's like, "Okay." And then before he can do it, Stacy just hits him in the back of the head with like a fire extinguisher, and he's like, "God damn it, I'll do it
Probably
myself
doing the
then."
henchman a favour in that moment.
Oh yeah, except for the part where he gets blown up 5 minutes later by dynamite.
But in this fight between Bond and Zorin, of course, who's going to win? Bond's going to win. Zorin tumbles from the Golden Gate Bridge and into San Francisco Bay.
Mm. Which, if this was a video game, he would be fine.
Oh, he would be fine and live.
No,
even in a Bond film, he would be fine and live, quite possibly.
That's true. Yeah, we could have a return of Christopher Walken as Zorin one of these days.
But today is not this day because R.I.P. Zorin. Love to know you. Love to see you.
Yeah, it's weird because at this point the main villain is dead, but evil Nazi man is still around.
Hans Glob is,
as we've alluded to.
In these last few moments, it really comes into focus that he's the real baddie because he was the one that made Zorin and Mayday,
Yeah, it's there's like a weird dynamic there where it's sort of like Zorin is doing all of this to impress his father
but that's
figure.
never quite addressed in the film.
It's never fully there. It's a sort of like through line that you can maybe get from the movie.
Yeah, you can read into it.
Yeah.
But Hans Glob, the Nazi, is just... I don't even call him his name at this point. I'm just referring to him as the Nazi.
Yeah.
He's now shooting at Bond. And then he kind of goes into like the back compartment of the blimp and brings out sticks of dynamite. And I asked why the stick of dynamite... Then I remember this was originally like the Minor Hut.
Yeah.
So maybe it's part of the cover. But then just... You know what this place is. Don't put dynamite in there. But, shit happens. You've now got dynamite in your blimp.
Yeah. So he lights this dynamite. He's intending to throw it. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a throw to pull that off, Hans Blob. If you can actually, not have that just go sailing into the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But he's, for some reason, I
can't remember
what happens
why.
Does he drop it?
I think Bond does something that makes him, fall back into the cabin.
Yeah.
I think he lets
don't
the
have a clue.
rope go so that, the
Possibly.
blimp goes into open air, and then he gets sort of trips backwards. And then him and the Goom are desperately fumbling to get this dynamite off, but they do not manage it, and the blimp explodes.
They do. F the Nazi and the blimp pilot.
Yeah.
And now we have Stacey Sutton and James Bond stuck at the top of the Golden Gate Bridge with the line, "There's never a cab when you need one."
Well, yeah, as all this is happening, the cars are just driving along the Golden Gate Bridge like normal. This is not causing a delay in traffic or anything.
Well, actually, something else that happens during this moment, you might not have noticed it. A giant Klingon bird of prey comes swooping past them and crashes into the ocean.
Nathan, the whales, Nathan, the whales!
We start to hear these weird whale song coming out of nowhere. Yeah. You hear a little Russian man down. I think we thought it was General Gogol, but I think maybe it wasn't, saying that we need to find the nuclear whistles. Do you know where the nuclear whistles are?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just couldn't let this go without mentioning it. Now we're back in Whitehall, Kyle.
Yes. Gogol is giving him a Russian medal, giving Comrade Bond a Russian Medal of Honor.
He's presenting it to M for Bond. Bond isn't there.
Yeah.
Bond is MIA at the moment. But yeah, so the Order of Lenin for Comrade Bond. The only non-Soviet citizen to ever receive the Order of Lenin, and he's giving it to James Bond.
Yes.
A man who, at points in his career, has actively been working to undermine the Soviet Union.
Well, look, he did them a huge favour by saving Silicon Valley, because that's where Russia steals all of their secrets.
Yeah, it's a very weird sort of in-joke that everyone's like, oh, we're quite happy Silicon Valley wasn't destroyed, actually, because if it had been, who would we steal all the tech from? Because we're useless.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, Bond is presumed dead, because they never found his body on that blimp.
Yeah, we get a little shot of Miss Moneypenny. She's quite sad at the thought of Bond being missing.
What a final shot to be in, just crying, hey? Oh well.
Sitting there and flooded with tears, yeah. Not a happy scene.
No.
And then we get a shot of Q outside Stacey Sutton's house, sending in the spy droid.
Yeah, we never actually explained the RC car was like a highly advanced spy device, as Q puts it.
Yeah, so it's like a remote drone. It's like a mouse droid from Star Wars.
It looks like something Doctor Who would own. It looks like a canine prototype.
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't it? Yeah, So, but instead of going up to Stacey Sutton's house and just knocking on the door, because hello, I'm Colonel Boothroyd, member of MI6. I'm here looking for one of my agents.
Very importantly, this is why we established this earlier. She does have a cat with a cat flap on the door. So
yes, So no, he sends this weird mouse droid thing into the house, and and somehow it gets upstairs.
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry
it's
about it.
It's highly advanced, Nathan.
Yeah, yes, must be. It's the wrong trousers. But it's downstairs bathroom, maybe. And he bops open the bathroom door to see Bond and Sutton in the shower together. And we get a shot of Q just looking shocked, and then someone.
I would say he looked shocked. He just sort of like, it's freaking Bond up to this shit again.
Just exactly looking fed up, right? And we get someone in the comms being like, any sign of Bond? Have you found him yet, Q? And Q says he's just cleaning up a few details.
Q knows what's up. Q is not a snitch. Okay.
Q's not a snitch. She ain't no snitch. That's it. That was A View to a Kill.
That was A View to a Kill. That was Rodger Moore as James Bond.
It was. Take a bow, Roger. Take a bow. He's here. He's here right now in heaven.
It's interesting because
he didn't like this film.
He didn't like this film. This is his least favourite film, and I don't think that's fair of you, Rodger Moore.
Yeah, I think this is very not fair. I can imagine as an actor, you'd maybe have preferred Making for Your Eyes Only. It's a bit more serious. I think that's probably my least favourite film of his, though.
Yeah, it's the most self-serious one. Yeah,
It's just a bit boring, actually.
The Rodger Moore era is interesting because it's like the longest period of Bonds,
And it has volatile quality.
It has very strained quality. Yeah, like I don't think any of the movies are like to the heights of Goldfinger, probably.
No, I'd agree.
But there's certainly a lot of like iconic Bond stuff that you get from these movies.
Absolutely, a lot of when you think of Bond, like the Moore era is just so defining.
Yeah, Jaws is super iconic.
Rodger does a great job. You know, he even became an amazing ambassador for the franchise. He wrote books on being Bond. Whenever he'd show up in British daytime telly, he'd always speak about being Bond. He was the only Bond actor who was ever not embarrassed to have been James Bond after it was done.
Was George Lazenby embarrassed?
He didn't do anything. We never know. No. He was never. Nobody ever asked him, which probably saved him from being embarrassed. You know, I think maybe he's still alive, George Lazenby, and he did do the occasional little spoof bits here or there. There's an advert that he returned to be Bond for once in New Zealand rather. Mm-hmm. But George Lazenby never went on to be one of those actors that people would always talk to about stuff. He wasn't in the limelight very much.
Yeah.
Sean Connery was always talked about being Bond. Though he had a big career outside of Bond. Pierce Brosnan to this day still gets asked about it. He's currently in a press tour for something else and he's being asked about because it's this year's 30 years since GoldenEye, you know. Mm-hmm. Timothy Dalton, same kind of story, a working actor that people will ask about Bond all the time too. And they just kind of want to get on with their lives. Rodger Moore loved it though.
Yeah.
He loved being Bond.
He certainly left his mark on the character.
He did, and actually I think that he was a force for good in the franchise. Not one person I've ever heard talk about Rodger Moore ever had anything negative to say about him.
I don't think, even in his movies where they're not great, he's never, like, bad in them. He's always doing good work.
He is always giving, he's always earning his pay. He is always earning his pay, and you know what, I hadn't seen all of his films before, and now I have. I can definitely say that I'm more of a Moore head now than I was going in. I quite like Rodger Moore. I always liked him.
He's won you over.
Yeah, he has won me over. I always liked him. I just thought the whole clown thing, I'm still not going to forgive it, but that really kind of soured my perception. He was the dandy Bond.
Uh-huh.
I now think of him a bit more of a suave Bond, less of a dandy Bond. I think I'll always remember the quote that he gave about playing Bond more as a lover, whereas Connery played him as a killer. You know, I see it like that. You know, Octopussy probably my least favourite. I'll say that right now.
It's between that and For Your Eyes Only for me.
I think actually I'm contradicting myself. I think earlier I did say For Your Eyes Only is my least favourite. Yeah, For Your Eyes Only might be my most boring film. So yeah, it'd be between that and Octopussy, definitely. But everything else perfectly serviceable. Do you have a favourite? Is it for The Man with the Golden Gun for you?
Yeah, probably. I think that movie's really solid.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I actually think this might be my second favourite.
Maybe. Yeah, I do also like Moonraker, but it is just a remake of Man with the Golden... of Spy Who Loved Me. So.
Yeah, exactly. And they're fine, but I just think they have some forgettable stuff in them. I think the only part of this film I'll forget is all the mining rights stuff, you know?
Yeah. But no, Christopher Walken, good villain. Yeah. Oh, good movie. Good send-off for old Rodger Moore, I'd say.
Good send-off for Rodger Moore. Good send-off for Louise Maxwell. I don't think we should go without mentioning her. She's been the only character, apart from Desmond Llewellyn, and only actor that stayed with us since Dr. No, and that's his losing one now. Bernard Lee lost a few films ago now because of his death.
Sean Connery, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, I know, but you know, and we could also mention the actors, but I'm just talking about the support actors. You know, it's just very good. Louise Maxwell, you're a very good Moneypenny, and they got some shoes to fill. You know.
Yeah.
Brosnan.
Well, yes. Next week we're going to enter the Bond era that I know the least about. I don't think I've ever even seen clips of Timothy Dalton as James Bond. So.
Have you not? Interesting. No. Okay.
Because our next movie is The Living Daylights.
The Living Daylights. It's either that or License to Kill. It's one of the two, Kyle. I trust you
believe
to
it.
keep a track of this kind
On
of
my
thing.
notes, it's The Living Daylights, 1987. So
Right, okay. So I've never seen Living Daylights. I've seen half of License to Kill.
okay, well, this should be interesting then.
Yeah,
But
I do like the song, though.
Yeah. Until then, Nathan, where can the people find you online?
The people online can find me, as always, on social media hosting services such as Twitter and Mastodon and Blue Sky. I try to make Blue Sky work. There's not enough happening there, but I really want Blue Sky to work, you know? Threads, you can find me there as well. I'm always happy to be there. You can always find me sometimes pissing around Kyle's comment section from time to time. I also run the Twitter account for this podcast, at name note included, where I am posting our weekly updates for this very podcast. If you'd give us some love over there, and I'll be sure to return the favour by interacting with you and posting more.
And you can find me at Kyle the Scot on YouTube, where I do video essays and game critiques, and sometimes on Blue Sky, although not very much. And we have a very big backlog of stuff you can listen to. We've been through all of the DCEU movies, we've been through all of the X-Men movies, we've been through over half of the Bond movies now, so there's a big old backlog of stuff you can find if you just can't get enough of us for some reason.
We should probably speak to someone about that.
And yeah, and that'll tide you over until we see you next time for A View to a Kill. Nope. No. We'll see you. That was this movie. We'll see you next time for The Living Daylights.